What is up, everybody? How are we doing? My name is the Mind of Z, otherwise known as Zach. Um, now, let's just start off with a few facts here before I got like 5 minutes to do this. So, and then I gotta get into the Zoom. I gotta get ready for this call with Matthew Easter. I've been looking forward to this for a while. I've been wanting to do it for a while. So, just so you guys know, in 2023 there were 38 school shootings. Since 2018, there has been 181. There have been 309 shootings since Columbine. Columbine was one of the worst shootings ever occurred. It was a massacre practically. Of those 390 school shootings, 193 deaths and 403 injuries, and that does not include any shooter itself. The average time for a cop to get to a school shooting is about 15 minutes. In those 15 minutes, 56 shots are fired, with 50 to 70% of the shots being accurate at someone, and someone getting wounded or killed, which is 14 wounded, 14 dead. The same, at the same time. The average age for the school shooter is 16 years old. There are different protocols for an active shooter scenario versus a barricaded person. Each city has a different amount of money they are granted for the police department or funding training. They only do this organization. I'm gonna ask Matt a question about training and policies of trainings. 25% of cops are ex-military, so they do have breaching background, but they come from so many different backgrounds, so it's not accurate at all. Since Columbine in 1999, more than 338,000 students in the U.S. have experienced gun violence at school. 68% of the gun-related incidents at school came from a family or relative. 4 out of the 5 shooters have told someone beforehand of the person and had prior knowledge before the shooting had occurred. There are different levels to which an active shooter threat is. The main 5 breaching tactics are to suppress, obscure, secure, and reduce, and assault, as known as SOSRA. Trainees also receive instruction on basic first aid procedures, the administration of intranasal Narcan medication in response to opioid overdoses, and the trauma kit comprised of a tourniquet. The tourniquet is more than likely going to be used on the kids rather than the perp, because to be honest, let's just be honest, fuck the perp. The average response for an EMT to get to on a call is 300 seconds to 5 minutes at most. And cops who have and are equipped to retain and work with other officers, and there will be arguing if it, that's all right. That's that. I need to. I am not going in until at 7 exactly. I need to. Hold on now. How are we doing? Are we live? We are live. Got it. My volume's a bit low. Is this better? This better? Hold on, I want to see. This one should be. Hold on. Is this better, Tessie? Give me a second. Is this better, Tessie? Okay, that's good. Okay. I want to let you know if you can hear the guy and if you can hear me once I get into the Zoom call. So just stay here until 7. But yeah, I'm not having my email up here. Where's Religion Project? Give me 1 second. I'm actually really looking forward to this. And yes, I put on the suit just for an hour. I totally did that. I know. And I'm taking this serious. I was trying to get to my Sim. My Sim account. I'm literally not logging in until 7. Exactly. Because I have 45 minutes and they gave me an hour time slot, but because it's Friday, it's the Friday before Christmas, I'm trying to let Matt have a little bit of time together. Time with his family before all this shit happens. Calendar, Isaac. Oh, I thought I fucking... Meetings. Yes, I have a meeting. Upcoming. Yes, thank you. I have a meeting. I'll start that in... So, Dusty, do you have any questions that you want to ask me? That you wanted me to ask him? Because I'll more than likely do that. BRB, or... I'll play this one more time. Until he gets...
This person in the comments says she has 8 of them. 8! They are over $200. How do you have 8 of them? You say over $200? Yeah.
Give me a second, I'll be right back.
Sorry.
I'll do the video. That's fine. Actually, I'll just have... Sorry. Okay, you got my beautiful face for a little bit, y'all. While I get his audio checked out, start join audio. No. Video. I want the video to be UBC. Audio. Okay. Main screen. Okay. I'm just gonna put it here till I see. Which one's this one? I need to change my name. How do I do that? More. Rename. What's that? Did I get the right? So make sure I have the correct one. fuck? Hold on. Wrong fucking one. Oh no. Hold on. So many fucking Zoom meetings I fucking have. It's not even fucking funny. Oh, I have to do it through my other camera. Hold on, I'm retarded. Hold on now. Give me a second. Sign out. I have another one. Fuck me. Sorry about that. I have, yeah. Let's see. Alright, start. Join. I need to start video. Hello? Yes, I do. Good to meet you too. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure they can hear you. Can you speak 1 second? Alright, that's the other one. Okay, speak again. Okay, there we go. No, you're fine. It's just because of the audio software I'm using, I have 2 different outputs, and it's one or the other, and I just had to troubleshoot it. You're fine. I just wanted to thank you ahead of time for doing this. Means
Thank you for having me.
Means a lot for you. A little bit of background of I was given a project for a school about an issue that feels near and dear to my heart, and find someone who is currently or is affecting the issue, and for me it's children's safety in schools. And I remember someone was on one of your representatives, I think it was Matthew. He was on a podcast that I watch regularly, and I immediately thought of you guys. That
actually was me.
Oh, was you? Okay.
Do a formal introduction.
Yeah.
Matthew
Yeah.
Easter.
Yeah. So let's get this going, because I know I'm trying to let you go so you can go. It's Friday night. So tell everybody about your organization and what it's about.
Well, awesome, man. Thank you again for having me and doing this.
Yeah.
Getting this message out to more people is really important.
Yeah.
I think we tend to overcomplicate possible solutions, and
Sure.
in an effort to try to make sense of things, a lot of things fall by the wayside and nothing gets done. So essentially, we are a 501c3 nonprofit that is working to provide community-funded school security. And on top of that, we provide preventative trainings for schools, and threat mitigation, emergency operations plans, active shooter plans. And the main focus of the organization is obviously to hire veterans for school security.
Yes.
So we've been at this since about May. We got launched, so everything's still fresh. We're still a new organization. We're still working on operational funds to get launched. But as of now, we're getting a lot of traction, and our number one focus is just school safety.
Yeah.
One of our slogans is "No politics, just protection," because a lot of the times, these issues are hyper politicized, and instead of anything getting done, we just have 2 sides of the aisle screaming at each other for a solution that's not going to happen unless people come together.
Oh, for sure. It's crazy to see, because the main thing that people say is when a school shooting happens is, oh, the kid or the person, it was the gun's fault. It's the gun's fault. It's the weapons. No, it's not the weapon's fault. It's the person's fault, because who's pulling the trigger? I've actually done a little bit of research because of this project I'm doing, and it turns out since Columbine, there has been 390 mass shootings, not school shootings since. Of those 380, I think it was 380. There has been 403 injuries and 193 deaths.
Yeah.
Way too many.
Yeah, absolutely.
As I was tallying up those numbers, my heart sank and sank every single page I went.
Mhm. Yeah, when I was working on getting this organization off the ground, we were going through all the data of what's actually happened, because a lot of the data of what's actually happened and what um, the media wants you to see is entirely different.
Yeah,
So a lot of school shooting or gun violence data gets conflated with gang violence, with violence that
yeah,
happens within a school zone. So, say that there's a gang shooting or just a shooting in general that happens within proximity to a school zone. That's going to get added as school violence. That's going to get added.
exactly.
Especially if someone is a minor or 19 years old, that data gets put into to all of the data for children
Yeah,
and gun violence. So, yeah, it's really important to focus on what's accurate and base our decisions off of that, not base our decisions off of emotions. So that was really important for us when we were starting this organization, or
yeah,
when I was starting this
mm,
organization.
yeah,
So we went through all the data, and we put together lists of all of the mass shootings that have happened in the last 22 years, and then all of the school shootings that have happened since Columbine, essentially, because
yeah,
Columbine was the one that actually put school shootings on the map.
exactly.
Even though we've had school shootings in the past.
Yeah. So, what made you want to start this organization? Was it a group of
My
people
wife's
was it a group of people that you came by and were like, okay, let's do this, or was it just yourself and a couple other people?
honestly, it was just me, but my motivation came from wanting to ensure that my wife had a safe environment while she was teaching.
Yeah.
So ensuring her protection and the safety of the children who look up to her was especially important to me. As far as the catalyst for all of this, that would definitely be the Uvalde shooting.
Yeah.
So here in the state of Texas, that was a pretty big call to action for a lot of people, and more than anything, it highlighted uh, the how big the issue really is here
Yeah, for sure.
with just school safety, and how unsafe schools actually are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, for your people, what difference of training between what cops get versus what you instill in your people? What does that look like?
So you mean the difference in training that we provide to law
What
enforcement versus?
what is the training that you give your um, um, officers, security guards, whatever you call them?
So our so we still haven't fully deployed in the schools, but we
Okay.
have our training curriculum. This is going to be an effort that costs a lot of money,
Yes.
so we're going to need a lot of support from the local community. We're looking into grants right now, but having our training team and our curriculum developed is number one, because we can start deploying into schools and providing training essentially. So for law enforcement, we provide active shooter training.
Yep.
So our training partners, we did a training for Collin County Sheriff a few months ago,
Yeah.
and that was essentially running active shooter scenarios. We had a response team to people pretending to be shooting victims. We had one of our training guys was op 4 for the Collin County Sheriff and for Princeton ISD school marshals, and we were running munitions rounds on school grounds to
Yeah.
simulate different scenarios for a school shooting. So a lot of it's hands on.
Yeah.
It's going to be, CQB training. It's going to be how to effectively respond to an active shooting event. But more importantly, it's going to be threat mitigation training too. Is like, what are we not doing to prevent this from happening, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and then for our security officers, there's going to be a really strict selection process. So they're going to have to obviously have some kind of combat MOS. They're going to have to go through a psychological evaluation, a TEA background check, and then a federal background check as well. Which is essentially going to be the background that DPS provides here in the state of Texas.
Yep.
And once they've gone through that process, we're going to onboard them, get them their level 3 training, which will take about a week. And then from there, we go through the selections and qualification process. So there's physical fitness standards, there's shooting standards, and then there's going to be just CQB scenarios and training and stuff like that. So it's going to be pretty strict. And for those that don't qualify, they'll have the ability to come back and re-qual. But we're also a security company, so for those that don't qualify, they are still going to be able to work for the security company. So we're still creating employment opportunities for veterans.
That's good. So. That's good that you offer that. Now, I'm not sure if you thought of this. I'm sure you probably have. But once you launch your first school district or first school, how often are you going to give your guys training? Because I know officers, it's all based on funding and how much they have, and they can only spare a little bit. And I one thing that I recall is in Uvalde specifically is they went from active shooter to barricaded person and like 20 different times.
Yeah, it was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
So we're going to have monthly trainings. That's we're still trying to decide whether it's going to be bi-monthly or monthly, but there's going to be active training ongoing. It's something that we take very seriously, and in order to work as a team, to stay sharp, you have to have time on the range. You have to be exercising those muscles, because like anything else, if you don't do it, you will lose it. And certain things are going to be muscle memory, but if you're not exercising, you're just not going to be as effective as if you were. So it's going to be monthly trainings. Summertime is going to be dedicated towards trainings as well, and that's something that we're going to take very seriously. So our training partners that we partner with, one group in particular, Checkmate Training Group, they've got a shoot house. So, that's going to be our ability to keep these guys sharp, whether that's, stacking up on a door, CQB, dynamic room entry, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. Is when you go through the process, is there a requirement to how many years you have to be in the service branches? And is it any branch can join, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, or is it just strictly just one branch that you're looking strictly for?
No, there's no time requirement. There's, we want to be able to bridge that gap for veterans transitioning out and, going into the workplace. We want to be able to provide stability, because it's not just going to be security officers. We're a fully functioning nonprofit. We're going to need people working logistics and operations. We're going to need office people. We're going to need people that maintain buildings for the organization. There's all kinds of stuff that an organization needs, and there's got to be personnel to fill that void. So no particular branch. Really, it's just our goal is to function around helping veterans and protecting children. Mm-hmm. And as long as we're doing that, we're meeting the our mission statement, so to speak.
Yeah. So is it just military vets you're doing, or are you doing FBI, Secret Service, CIA, people like those?
That's a really good question. There are some Secret Service guys that are retiring out that have expressed interest in joining in the future once we're operational. So we more than likely will be hiring anyone interested. And even if they have a law enforcement background too, but certainly the Secret Service is one of our training partners is the former senior special agent for the Secret Service. So he's pretty well connected, obviously. So he has contacts and kind of knows of people who are going to be transitioning out as
That
they.
that's good.
So yeah, but those positions are more than likely going to be like a supervising officer. So
Yeah.
not someone who's directly in a school, but they're going to be overseeing a security unit. They're going to be overseeing a particular district,
Okay.
and just overseeing SOPs and ongoing upgrades to security systems and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Um. So I know how many school districts are interested slash have you talked to?
Uh, so we're focusing small first. We want to
Yeah.
start out small, and then we want to
Mhm.
build up from there because you
Yeah.
you don't want to overextend yourself, and you
Yeah.
certainly don't want to spread yourself too thin. So we've spoken to four different school districts,
Okay.
and the reason why we're not putting word out to more school districts than that is because we wouldn't be able to serve them,
Mm-hmm.
and we need funding from the community first in order to deploy into any one of those districts. So we have a meeting with a school district at the beginning of next month. We're just
Okay.
waiting for the holidays to pass so we can
Yeah.
have that meeting. But yeah, good question. We just want to make sure that what we do well, and we laser focus our efforts,
Yep.
and we really sharpen what we have before we build on that.
Yeah. Another question similar to this, but I know you're starting off small, but if your organization becomes big, are you looking to move into other states? Have you thought about that, or just strictly just Texas?
I don't particularly want that under my umbrella.
Yeah.
Running an organization is a lot, let
Yeah.
alone running an organization that owns a security company. Part of our model is we want our our security officers that work for us to be able to level up, so to speak, and after they've done about let's say 5 or 6 years, we're still working through the details. They will be able to break away and start their own chapter of the organization. So they would be overseeing it, but as a partner of our organization under the same name and same tax ID number, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yes and no. It's going to be more of a franchise partnership than anything else. So we would be expanding, but it's not going to be me having to oversee that because
Yeah.
that's too much for
One guy.
one person.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not too much for a lot of guys that are working together, and giving them the ability to be their own boss and their own entrepreneur is huge too, because you're creating growth opportunities and you're creating an ownership mindset.
Yeah.
So it's going to go further, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a better product at the end of the day.
Exactly. You want it to be the best, not the worst.
Mhm.
Um, what is? Have you had any issues, and if so, what were the issues of getting a hold of the district, and like, were they intrigued into wanting to find out about more about your organization? Were they was any of them just like we're all in that type of deal once you launch, or
Yes and no. It's a combination between the two, because school districts that already have SROs, which are school resource officers,
yeah,
may not see the benefit in what we're doing, because they're already being supported. Um, we want to be able to provide support for any school district. So that's why we decided to be an 80/20 approach to school safety, and that's 80% preventative measures and 20% responsive. So since we also provide threat mitigation training, that allows us to be able to reach more people. So that allows us to, be more appealing to school districts. As I was developing this organization, I wanted it to be something that not only schools would be intrigued with, but I wanted it to be something that they couldn't say no to.
yeah,
Something that's too good to be true.
yeah,
So essentially, I wanted to be a one-stop solution for school safety. So, and then obviously you have the other districts that are 100% on board, yes, once you have funding, once you have people, we want to deploy your programs into our schools. But obviously, those are the school districts that don't necessarily have the funding to put an officer in each school. But fortunately, there's House Bill 3 that passed recently, which it requires all school districts to have armed personnel on campus. So that obviously sounds like a great idea, but House Bill 3 only provides $15,000 per school to achieve that, and $100 per kid. So on an annual budget, that's not enough to pay the salary of an SRO or a quality security officer. So what school districts are opting to do is they're opting to hire other armed security officers who don't necessarily have the training and don't necessarily have the background to be able to really secure a school campus. So, for lack of a better term, you don't just want an armed guy on a campus.
Yeah. I'm a guy who knows how to use it and knows how to do it.
Absolutely. And just to go on record, I'd like to say that my entire training department and I, we don't see just adding more guns to schools and school campuses as a great solution.
Yeah.
We see adding the right person who's well trained and the right systems and the right threat assessments to schools as a good ongoing solution. So there's a big push to arm teachers as well, which I think is a great psychological deterrent. But when it comes down to it, if a teacher's carrying on a school campus and there's an active shooter, that teacher is trained to shelter in place.
Exactly.
So that teacher's not going to go clear rooms and address that threat. So it's, like I said, it's a great psychological deterrent for a would-be attacker. But I honestly think that unless there's significant training and ongoing training, and preferably a teacher with a military background, I think it is more of a Band-Aid solution rather than an ongoing solution.
Yeah. I just thought of this. Would you hire a teacher who's still technically teaching? Would you hire a teacher who's past military to work in your as a district and in your school, so you have one less person to go in that school? Or
yeah, school districts can actually opt to arm teachers. It's really up to the independent school district.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately their decision. But if a teacher wanted to step away from teaching and wanted to become a level 3 armed security officer, which would be, wearing a uniform, open carrying on a belt, that kind of thing, yeah, we would absolutely hire them if they had, if they met all the requirements, I should say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
What is your greatest challenge that your organization has faced? Was it the public? Was it funding? What was it?
It's 1,000% funding. that isn't probably the easiest question you've asked all night. Funding it's a struggle for any nonprofit, but also it's especially a struggle right now because school safety is not a hot button in the media.
No, it's not.
So we're not talking about it. We're not worried about it. We're worried about funding a foreign war instead of protecting our own civilians.
That is one of the questions I wish they asked the presidential candidates. But no, we're not talking about that. That's we won't touch that with a 10-foot ball.
Exactly.
It needs to be covered though. Mm-hmm. That's serious.
Well, and honestly, I think a big reason why they don't talk about it is because the only arguments we really hear are guns are the problem, or we need more to arm teachers, or we need more cops in schools.
Yes, which all of
So
that practically requires more funding, and then there's the other side that wants to defund the police, which then it's just like you go against your whole argument there.
yeah, exactly. So, and one thing I try to tell people when they start, stepping into that territory, uh, is that, you know, we're only going to be able to solve this problem if we come together on certain solutions, and we need to have sustainable solutions that are ongoing. And we need to be approaching this from well, how are we going to um, solve the problem without the unintended consequences working against us? And a lot of people are very reactive in nature and they're not forward thinking. So I think that's a big problem with our society is we're more focused on reacting to the problem instead of working to prevent the problem. And a large portion of what we're working to offer schools is prevention. And we don't see a lot of people really being willing to put resources and time into prevention. And unfortunately, you can see where we're at as a country and as a nation based on where we spend our time and money.
Yeah.
And our priorities are not with our children, unfortunately.
No, and we need to because they're the future of our country.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Um, yeah. So, as a civilian, how do we help your organization?
Excellent
And
question.
where can
Um,
we find you and know more about your organization?
well, our website is allegianceproject.org. Um, and you can find us on Twitter at APF Nonprofit, or you can find us. We've got a Rumble page. We don't really post any videos yet. We've got a Facebook. Just look up Allegiance Project Foundation. We originally wanted to just be called Allegiance Project because that's a lot easier. It's not so much of a mouthful, but like a week before we put in our paperwork for our name, someone else put in their paperwork for Allegiance Project. So we had to go with Foundation. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
We've got an Instagram. We're honestly not very active on Instagram or Facebook, like any meta platform, just because they shut us down from being able to advertise, and they've been trying to silence us, just since day one, or they have been. So we're not
Yeah.
really getting any activity. Even our followers aren't seeing any of our posts.
Yeah.
So we
Is there a version of them saying we don't care about the kids?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Which
Well, I
it's
mean,
sad.
they will say they care about the kids, but only on their terms.
Exactly.
So it's unfortunate that, if it's not on your terms, then all of a sudden you don't support these initiatives for school safety. And we really need to remove, like I said earlier, we need to remove emotions from the equation when we're approaching a problem, because emotions don't solve issues.
Yes.
They are reactive. And if we're being reactive, then we're not getting ahead of the problem. We're just trying to solve it right after something's happening, and we're always going to be one step behind.
Yeah.
Uh, so, not everyone likes our solutions for school safety. And I tell people, look, you know, I'm not here to have the argument on whether or not, we have the best gun rights, or the whether we need more gun safety. I don't know what you want to call it, what they're calling it nowadays. But I'm not here to have that conversation. Here are the social norms in which we live. Guns exist. They're not going away anytime soon.
Yeah.
And instead of waiting for politicians to maybe solve the problem, why don't we implement solutions that will actually have a positive effect right now?
Exactly.
So that's the approach. That's the approach that we're taking with this. Is, hey, that's great. You guys want to have this argument, go do it over there. But if you want to actually get involved and do something about this, here are our social norms. Here's where we live. And blaming guns or blaming people, or saying this isn't going to help anything.
Yep.
So I stay away from those conversations because
Yeah.
honestly, it pulls me away from my efforts to protect kids now.
Yeah. hmm Um, Well, I got through all my questions. You
Really?
I didn't have to answer. I didn't have to ask a couple of them because you went through it on your answers, which is something
Yeah,
which is something I
I
enjoy about it is I don't have to ask a million questions. You kind of just answer the questions as I go.
yeah,
I'm sorry. I should have sent the email of the questions that I had so you could see them ahead of time.
yeah,
But yeah,
it's okay. I don't mind doing this kind of stuff on the fly. This is obviously something I'm really passionate about,
yeah,
and you know, um, no amount of preparation is going to stop me from going off on you know
yeah,
tangents talking about this and that. So it's just the way it is when you're passionate about something and it's near and dear to your heart.
yeah,
It's easy to talk about. So,
yeah,
but yeah, our nonprofit's still new. So for civilians that want to get involved and support, they can go to our website. Um, like I said, funding's our biggest struggle right now. We're working on some benefits that are going to bring in some funding. We're partnering with some other organizations to do some joint joint events because really that's the only way that any of this is going to move forward. We need to put kids first, and
yeah,
we need to do a better job at serving the people who serve our country.
yeah,
And those are two areas that we are failing as a nation because, like I said, you can see our priorities by where we spend our time and money.
yeah,
And unfortunately, that is not with our children or our veterans. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, they can follow us, but realistically, the best thing people can do is uh, tell other people about what we're doing. This is a grassroots movement. Um, People supporting this, it's a tax write-off, and it's money that's not going to get sent to another country's war.
yeah,
So they can look at it like that. Any money you give us, we'll give you paperwork to file with the IRS for a tax write-off. So if you make it a part of your ongoing, monthly donations, it's really easy to sign up and just have a reoccurring monthly fee. And honestly, if every parent in every district signed up and did $5 a month, which most people
yeah.
can actually do $5 a month, that's a cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
It's a oh shoot, I forgot I was still subscribed to that, and I was paying
Yeah,
$7.50 a month.
yeah,
Most people can sign up and kind of forget about that, and that would honestly provide about 75% of the funding we would need to fully function within school districts.
yeah,
Um, you know, Especially on the threat prevention side, it would really provide all the funding that we need for our training department to go into schools and teach their curriculum and all that. But our next big push is to take our training material and try to push that to a state level. Because if we can
yeah,
get that up to a state level and get it state mandated, then we're creating curriculum that every school needs, and there's a way to find funding for that.
yep,
Because right now, the idea is obviously we don't want to take any more money from schools. That's why we're a nonprofit, because school districts already don't have the money to put an officer in each campus. And what they're likely to do is take money away from extracurricular activities and take money away from special education and things that are
yep,
very, very needed in order to be in compliant with this new bill. And that's what we want to prevent, because that is going to cause a lot of issues in the future. And we've started to see school districts going into a deficit for the first time this last year in order to be compliant with House Bill 3.
yep.
So over time, that's just not a sustainable solution.
Um, Last thing before I let you go. Would you like a link to the or a file of the interview that I did with you?
Yeah, please,
Okay.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
send it.
I'll send that to you. I'll send it through the email of the thread that I've created.
Awesome.
I'll do that. And
And then one more thing I wanted to
mm,
tell you, just especially if this is for school, it's important to know that um, for those people who are on the fence and don't really know how to get involved, it's important to know that threat mitigation is probably the most important thing we can be doing within schools.
Yeah.
So helping schools develop an emergency operations plan and an active shooter plan. And your emergency operations plan is going to be a combination of, preventative trainings and having a multidisciplinary threat assessment team. But the real reason why that's important is because we'll be focusing on teaching schools how to identify the early warning signs of concerning behavior.
Yep.
Teaching students how to see that, that concerning behavior, and teach schools how to have a reporting system in order to get those students the help that they need before they get to the point where they're hurting other people. Because regardless of what the issue is, whether people want to blame guns or blame this, regardless of that, we're seeing an increase across the board of targeted violence. So if we're not getting to that problem, then we're not solving the issue. We're only solving the symptoms of the problem. We need to get to why we're seeing an increase in targeted violence, or why we're seeing an increase of people wanting to hurt other people. That's where the real issue is. And if we solve that issue, then we solve, all of the other problems.
Yeah.
So getting these kids the help that they need to prevent from having to introduce them to the criminal justice system. That's our main goal. That's a huge win. So threat mitigation is everything. Like I said, the hiring veterans and putting them in schools and training them up, that's awesome. That's a great solution, but it's more reactive, and that's only about 20% of what we're working to provide as an organization. So going into schools, providing risk assessments, looking at their layout and saying, hey, you need cameras here, you need some shatterproof glass here. You need, instead of these locks, you need some key fobs, that kind of thing. So being able to come alongside schools and bridge the gap between local communities and schools, because there's a lot of resources in our communities that really go to bogus stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that have the ability to support these initiatives and help protect schools, but I think they don't know about it, and they don't know that they can be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
And I think, sorry, go ahead.
It was funny because last week we actually had an email sent out by one of the students to the principal. It was a death threat. And luckily the threat has been mitigated. They had outside school security officers around the building in case that person came back. And I just thought it was a coincidence that I emailed you guys, and then the next week we had that happen, and then this week I'm doing the interview with you.
Yeah. And just to make sure everything was safe, everyone was okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
It's
no one was hurt. I think that person was arrested. I don't know if that's actually true, though. Yeah. That's it's something that we're going to keep seeing. This isn't an issue that's going to go away. This is a community problem, and it's going to take community solutions. Not every state has the ability to do what we do, because here in the state of Texas, obviously it's mandated to have armed personnel on schools. Yep.
So it makes it easy for us doing what we do and having to answer that question. Well, what if a school doesn't want your solutions? Well, they kind of have to.
Yeah.
So that just really happened to work out. But like I said, threat mitigation's everything.
Mm-hmm. But up here where I am in New York, guns is like Satan to them. They don't like it at all.
Yeah.
So.
Which is interesting, because there was a report that the Secret Service put out.
Yeah.
They've been doing data collection and gathering intelligence on school shootings and even targeted school violence and even targeted violence that was averted because the schools had a threat assessment team.
Yeah.
So they've been doing this for over
By the way, we
22
do have less than a
years.
minute left, so I don't want to cut you off.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
No. I appreciate that. So the Secret Service is actually a great resource for a lot of these schools,
Yeah.
but you'd find that over 40% of the attackers didn't use guns.
Yeah.
So even though you're in a state that's very, not gun friendly, it doesn't mean that you're not at risk,
Yeah.
and things like this are absolutely going to happen.
Yeah. Exactly. So before it cuts me off, I want to say thank you. I'll send you those things, and
Thank you.
I would love to have another talk with you once your organization launches.
Yeah, absolutely, Zach. We will definitely stay in contact, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have a
All
good
right.
holiday.
Thank you. I appreciate.
Okay. So, how did you guys like that? Is that something you guys are interested in? Should I do more of this? All of what he was saying was literally exactly what I've been preaching for how a year plus so. It was exactly what I've wanted. Yeah. I'll tell him. I'll email him that once I email him the link of once I'm done with this. Phew. Yeah. That was my first. Testy, did you like that? Should I do more interviews like this? Yeah. Do you want to come to the Discord, Testy, and talk, or what? Because I'm opening up the Discord right now if you want to. You're in my Discord, right? I think you were, at least. Yeah, it's all pretty well. Are you in my Discord? Yeah, you are. Alright, you are. Got it. I'm in, open banner. Yeah. Output would be... Okay. Yeah, I'm in my server. Unformed. That actually went really well. I think he enjoys having the younger crowd. I think he enjoys having the younger crowd there versus the older crowd. What's up, Tessie? Wait 1 second. Oh, I can't even hear you. Oh, I hear you. I hear you now. I hear you now. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. 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 It, yeah. It's cool because I'm gonna have our good friend Paul react to this. So I wish I did too, but because this is for a school project, I can't really do that because chat can sometimes be horrendous. Yeah, yeah. Great turnout. It was a great turnout. It kind of sucks that I was only on a 45-minute time constraint because thanks Zoom, you're amazing. Big fucking corporate. Sorry, I'm not paying for Zoom. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's like the funniest thing ever. But I mean, yeah. Yeah. What points did you agree with him on, and what points did you not agree with him on? Or did you agree with, or did you? Yeah. What
I think that like given the situation in America with like shootings and things like that,
mm-hmm.
it's a kind of a sad reality that like
Yeah.
something like this does need to even be considered.
Which is
Um,
what exactly what he was saying is that even if a school district doesn't like it, they're gonna take it because it's best for the students.
well,
You
I
know,
think his
like
argument at the end there was that it's because in Texas, I actually didn't even know this. So in Texas, it is mandatory to have like armed personnel on school
mm-hmm.
grounds. Was that what he was saying?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that he was saying like the foot in the door is a lot easier. Like it's a bit of an
yeah,
easier
it's a lot
sell.
of
It's like, well,
yeah, it's a lot of the door.
yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, like states where things like that don't exist, I feel like it would be quite an uphill battle to try to convince people like this is a tenable solution.
yeah,
And I think yeah, what's that saying? It's like uh, actually, I'm gonna fuck up the phrasing, so I'm not even gonna try it. But it's like, being
yeah,
prepared or whatever.
yeah,
It's better than like, yeah, some,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
it
yeah,
totally
something
escapes
like
me.
that. Yeah.
But anyway,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's a little bit sad to think about from like my outsider perspective.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, and also the thing that put my mind at ease a little bit is like, um, obviously there does have to be stringent training and vetting, right?
Exactly.
Because
Which is something that
yeah,
something that I liked about him and something that stood out to me when he was on another podcast. Was that he did say they do monthly training because cops will probably I think they get it yearly at minimum of training, like just one session. I think it's actually longer than that. I think it's 2 or 3 years that they until they get their next training or whatever. But it's all based on
yeah,
funding, which is what we talked about. It's all based on funding. If you don't have enough funding, you don't have enough training. It's funny because the leftists cry, "Oh, we need less school shootings," but we wanted to fund the police. It's like the funniest fucking thing ever.
um, yeah. And I mean, even the police have shown to be useless in these situations. What was it? Was it Uvalde or whatever?
Uvalde, yeah, they just sat
Yeah,
around there
that
for
was
50 minutes.
that was insane. Like one of the women like went in there and got her kid. She was like, "Fuck you guys," and she like, um,
Yeah,
and also I think it's an unrealistic expectation to expect that the police can
yeah,
deal with those situations. Because here's the
yeah,
thing, it's one of those things. It's almost like it's not quite the same, but like a natural disaster. I
mm,
mean, it's an unnatural disaster, but at the same time, it's not
yeah,
something that like is extremely commonplace to the point where you'd want to put bumpers and like security on everything, right? Like a police state type of thing. It's like, all
yeah,
right, well, if people are everywhere with these things, then
mm-hmm.
everyone would be safe, right? Like that would just create like this weird sense of paranoia.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think it's like the being able to respond to those situations quickly is probably
yeah,
like the most important factor. So, yeah, 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 I think my disagreements are just more in principle because I am one
yeah,
of those people who's like the guns are the problem, but the cat's out of the bag. It's
yeah,
like we're here now. We have to deal with
mm-hmm.
what
Yeah,
reality is. So,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it
All
was a
right.
good interview, and I
Yeah,
thought you were well prepped.
yeah, I know. It was fun because I was gonna wear what I normally wear, a tank top and sweatpants or shorts, and I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So I took like 20 minutes out of my day and just wore this suit.
Yeah, man, it makes a
Yeah,
difference, especially if you're gonna be. I mean, you said this is for a project, but
yeah.
even just like
Well,
dressing up
it's a
for.
quarter project, so it counts as 3 test grades, which my
Oh, nice.
to be fair, I'm failing the class, so I kind of need to
Oh,
do
so you,
well in this.
oh, I hear you.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I
So
mean, I think you'll. I think you'll do well.
give me 1 second, and then I'll be right back. All right,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no worries.
I am going to head out. I want to thank you guys for being here. And yeah, so one last thing, I'm gonna put it back on the starting soon screen to put it back, but we're actually gonna rewatch the clip that I played up before because it is needed to be played. There we go.